Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having a great day, guys. In this video, I want to talk about my Chimera Keys for Ultra Nightmare. And I want to show you exactly what I do, how I do it, and why I do it. There are a couple of things that you need to pay attention to when you attend the Chimera Clan Boss. Especially when you enter the Ram form and the Viper form. There are a couple of things you need to know in order to make the right decisions and therefore make the run easier for you and maybe complete more trials and just do more damage overall. So yeah, this is my Ultra Nightmare team. I use the same team for Nightmare. Arbais in the lead spot because of the speed aura. More speed is always better. I have Lydia in the second spot. This is also very important for this comp. Because of the ally attack, she will place that fear debuff on the Ram form before ninja attacks, and that way I can get more damage out of that ally attack towards the trial here on the trials number 1, the easy one. Damage the Chimera while it is under a fear or true fear debuff only counts damage from skills. The ally attack does help with that, so I want Lydia to place the fear first before the other champions attack. Then I have Ninja in the second spot, Mikage in the fourth spot, and Sifi in the fifth spot. I put Ninja in the third spot because he has the potential to put out that decreased defense, and then Lady Mikage and Sifi would do a little bit more damage, but it's not really that big of a difference. But yeah, let's jump into the run and I'll show you the first steps. If you're interested in the gear and the artifacts that I'm using on these champions and the relics and masteries and so on, I'm going to put them in the video later on. I'm going to put some timestamps in the description, so feel free to check that out if that interests you. Basically, the first thing that I do when I come into the Chimera fight is I swap forms with Arbais because I want to make sure to place that decreased speed on the Chimera. The decreased speed is really the most important part. I want to slow the Chimera down so I can take more turns, I can do more damage. Makes it easier for me as well to cycle my skills back. And I also don't want to buff it in the first turn, because the first skill that the Chimera is going to use is the Consume Matter, and it attacks all enemies before attacking, removes all buffs from all enemies, and the damage inflicted by this skill increases by 10% for each buff removed. Now, the Chimera will remove all my buffs if they are not protected, and I want to avoid that, so I'm just going to keep a warning until the Chimera uses that skill. So not only will the Chimera deal more damage for every buff that the Chimera removes, I will also lose the buffs, right? So if I lose the buffs, I will deal less damage, and I want to avoid that at all costs. So as soon as I get a turn with Ninja, I'll start using his A2s and A3s. I want to stack up his passive, his attack and crit damage. Every time I can use those skills, I will use them. And now I can also just use every other skill, buff up, put the debuffs up, everything that I need. I actually did a little mistake here. I should have used the A3 first with Lydia, but it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. After the Chimera takes the first turn, I definitely want to have the block buffs up because the next attack will try to place an increased speed on the Chimera, and I want to block that. I don't want the Chimera to have more speed, right? I don't want her to be faster, I want her to be slower. And that's basically the main goal here, trying to block the buffs from the Chimera, but also maintaining the debuffs and my buffs. So I'm going to swap forms with Arbais now because I have a decreased speed on the Chimera for 3 turns. That means turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 is when it's going to run out. So I have plenty of time to increase the duration of this debuff with Lady Mikage. So I can just swap forms with Arbais and then make use of the buff extension. And that way keep the buffs up longer and deal more damage. Alongside the buff extension, I can also boost my turn meter by another 30%, which is very, very strong. The 30% turn meter is a lot. I will take way more turns, way more ally attacks, and deal more damage. Now the next attack from the Chimera will be the A1, which has a chance to place a provoke, and that's also something that I don't want to have on my champions. I don't want my champions to have to be controlled, so I'm gonna buff that block debuffs again with Siffy, and now I don't have to worry about the provoke at all. I can also extend the buffs again. Ninja will have the attack up and so on, and the crit damage up for longer. Now the next attack will again be the consume meta on turn 3. From turn 3 to turn 4, Chimera will use this skill and again try to remove all my buffs. So I'm not going to rebuff anymore. I'm not going to extend my buffs here. I can use this ally attack because I have an attack up and a crit damage buff on Ninja for 2 turns. So if I use this ally attack, I won't have more or less buffs. It will basically still be the same, and I can just use this ally attack here. Obviously, Lady Mikage is buffing the other champions as well, but they will definitely take another 2 turns before the Chimera takes a turn. Also, as I said, on turn 4, the decreased speed will run out, and now I have another chance to extend the decreased speed with Lady Mikage. I will also extend some buffs, but that's, you know, I just gotta take the risk here. The Chimera won't do that much damage at this point. There are no trials done, so no additional bonus Chimera effects or stats. So the Chimera won't wipe my team just now, but later on when I complete a couple more trials, things like this get really dangerous, and I want to avoid having buffs on my champions when the Chimera uses this skill. Also, another thing here is with Lady Mikage, I can weak hit this form because it's Spirit Affinity, and there's a chance that I weak hit and not extend the buffs, but luckily the debuffs, but luckily I did not weak hit and I extend the decreased speed by another turn. But yeah, ideally I want to have it for another turn, so 2 turns right now, so it's up on turn count 5 as well. Okay, so now we are at turn count 5, and the first form that we are going to enter is the ramp form, and that is really an annoying form for this team because I don't have block damage or unkillable, so my ninja will always kill himself pretty much with the reflect damage on the ramp form, but we will try to do our best. And the way that I do it is that I'm using the revive on death skill from Arbais, kind of like the last second, and that way whoever the ramp form is targeting as a dual target will be revived instantly. And in my case, it's Lydia. Lydia has the lowest crit damage. Or is it Siffy? I don't know at the moment, actually. We're going to see. But normally it's Lydia. Maybe I changed some builds. I haven't checked it, actually. But normally it should be Lydia. So here you can see the turn meter is very high on the Chimera. And that's where I use the revive on death. So now I'm just going to go with A1s because I want to have my skills ready when I enter the next form. Another thing that I do is I swap forms with Lady Mikage just before I enter the ramp form, because that way I also have this skill up with the increased accuracy and the weaken. Because on the ramp form, one of the trials is to place 7 unique debuffs while your champions are under increased accuracy buffs. And I can buff with Arbais, and I can buff it with Lady Mikage as well, and that just helps to complete this trial. So I'm just going to go with the A1 here, A1 with everybody, and now we enter the ramp form, and it's Siffy, but that's totally fine because she has a revive on death on. Now I can just A1 Ninja, almost killed himself. I actually have the increased accuracy still up on Lydia, so I'm gonna go with A3. And even though the debuffs get deflected, the first debuffs you put on the ramp form are getting deflected, even though it gets deflected, it still counts towards the trial. So that is a pretty cool thing, actually. So now I could theoretically buff the increased accuracy with Arbais, but I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to swap forms here and then use the stone skin buff on her, and also put up continuous heals on Siffy. Now I can buff the increase accuracy and place the weaken. Buff the block debuffs because the Chimera is going to try to stun my champions. I will go with an A1 here with Ninja. He will kill himself, but he will get revived by the revive on death. I still have to place 4 more debuffs. I placed block buffs. I placed poison sensitivity and the weaken. So Ninja killed himself. He will die again. That's cool though. I placed a decreased speed with Arbais passive, and because I have the increased accuracy up, it counts towards the trial. So I need 3 more. Now I'm going to place 2 more, the leech and the HP burn. So we are at 6. And now I can actually place the decreased defense and the weaken again. And we got the trial done. So first trial done. That went pretty smoothly. Now I basically have to deal damage, 2.5 million damage, while I have increased crit rate or increased crit damage on my champions. And the Chimera is under a weakened debuff. And here's the cool thing that you will see in a second. When I revive Ninja with Siphi, Siphi will buff the increase attack and increase crit rate. Now if I deal damage on the Chimera, it will count towards this trial. So I gotta cycle the revive back often enough to be able to complete this trial. That's the only way that I can do it with this composition. Now I'm gonna use the F3 because it hits the hardest. 744k out of 2.5 million. So I need another 1.7 million damage. Now, the thing that I don't like about having fear on the ramp form is that if the Chimera loses a turn, or whenever a skill of the Chimera does not activate because of a fear or true fear debuff, the boss will gain 50% turn meter, and then the boss will start outlapping me, and then it's really hard to complete these trials because I'm not taking enough turns. I'm not reviving Ninja often enough, and therefore I can't complete the trial. So let's see what happens. I'm also going to swap forms with Arbais and then extend all the buffs. And yeah, so as you can see, the Chimera lost a turn basically and got 50% turn meter. So I lost a lot of time where I can cycle my skills back and deal damage, and that is really a problem. We went out of the ramp form with 2 million damage done, a lot of decreased speeds and all that stuff, and the debuff extensions got resisted, even though I do have enough accuracy, but it's just the RNG sometimes doesn't work in our favor, almost like most of the time. But yeah, just gotta deal with it. I want to get into the normal form with the least amount of buffs possible, because as soon as the Chimera swaps from these alternate forms into the ultimate form, the boss will instantly use this skill. So I want to avoid getting more damage than necessary and have the least amount of buffs on my champions. And that's the thing with the ramp form. My Ninja is now dead for like 2 or 3 turns already. And I'm trying to cycle back that revive on Siphi so I can start dealing damage again. But I kind of, sacrifice a lot of damage here so I can complete this trial in the next cycle. And then maybe if I'm lucky, I can also complete this hard one as well. So now I got the revive back. We're at turn count 13, so another 2 turns, and then we will enter the lion form. So before we enter the next form, I want to have my Arbais in the alternate form so she can put out that decreased speed instantly as soon as we enter that form. Also, I want to keep my debuffs ready. I want to keep my decreased defense and weaken from Lydia ready. I want to keep the buff extension or the debuff extension ready. I want to have increased defense on my champions so I can take bigger hits, because I'm missing decreased attack on this team. You might have noticed, but I don't have decreased attack here, so the line form will hit a little bit harder than usual. Alright, so we go into the line form. I think Lydia has my highest defense, so that's what the lion form is going to target. And I did that on purpose because if Lydia dies, it's not that big of a deal, and it works perfectly fine. So now I can just go full damage. I don't have to worry about anything of the lion form. The only thing, try to keep the block debuffs up as much as you can, because the lion form really tries to place decreased defense debuffs and weakens and debuff spread the whole thing. So you want to avoid that. You don't want decreased defense and weaken on your team, and that's what this team is actually very good at. You know, buff extension. I have Arbais and Mikage that can do it, and that way I can keep my buffs up, and it makes me way tankier, makes me faster, but it also causes me to do more damage, right? So here we go, turn 20, we are about to enter the alternate form again, the ultimate form, I mean, and now the ultimate form has 5% more attack, and that is a lot for the Chimera, 5% more crit damage, ignore block damage, and ignore unkillable. So yeah, pretty strong already, but it's still tankable somewhat. I don't have a lot of buffs up. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 buffs. The Chimera will strip those, and yeah, didn't really deal that much damage at the moment. But as soon as we hit 7 or night trials, the ignore defense is where the damage gets really, really dangerous, and that's when I really have to pay attention to how many buffs I have when I enter the ultimate form. And as always, keep Arbais in the second form, so she puts out that decreased speed. Once you place that decreased speed, you can swap back and start turn meter boosting. Then I want to place the block buffs, like I said, so the increased speed gets blocked. Once the situation is under control, I have the decreased speed up, I have the block buffs up, I block the increased speed. Now I can focus on dealing damage. So now the next form will be Viper, and the Viper form is also very dangerous if you have buffs up when you enter that fight, because the Viper form will try to steal those, and you don't want to have the Viper form increase attack or increase crit damage or block debuffs. If the Viper form gets block debuffs, there's no way for you to control that unless you strip that block debuff and then put up that block active skills. Otherwise, you will have a problem facing the Viper form. So there we go. Continuous heals are fine. They don't matter. The Viper form won't steal those. But the Viper form stole the shield buff, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a little shield, so not that big of a deal. And I have all my skills ready, so I can just start using everything that I got to deal damage. Now here the key thing is to get the block active skills from Lydia up as soon as possible, because that way the Viper form will only use the A1 as long as the block active skills is up, and the A1 has a chance of 50% of placing Fear, True Fear, Freeze, Provoke, Sleep, Stun, or Petrification for 1 turn. The Viper form can put up all these control debuffs, has a 50% chance, so you want to keep that block debuffs up at all times. That's kind of like the only threat here, as long as you have that block active skills up. And now this is where we start doing damage. We have the block active skills. We have all the debuffs that we need to deal more damage. We have the buffs. We have 3 protected buffs as well. And now it's just smacking the Viper form as hard as we can. And now remember what I said. Before you go back to the ultimate form, try to lose as many buffs as possible. Because now we're at 8 trials. And that means the Chimera, the ultimate form, will start ignoring the defense by 25%, and the damage will be way higher. You will see it in a second. As soon as we swap back to the ultimate form, it will be very noticeable. So basically, I'm just using A1s here, nothing else. I do have 4 or 5 buffs, and yeah, with 5 buffs alone, my Arbais is at like 25% HP. So the damage is really, really high. And as soon as we get more trials going, like 11, 12, 10 to 12, then the Chimera will start ignoring damage reduction from anything except buffs and debuffs. So the damage will be even higher with another 10% attack. So yeah, very, very dangerous. Also, the decreased speed got resisted again from Arbais, which is not really ideal. So there we go. In the end, 220 million damage on Ultra Nightmare, 3.6 billion clash points. This is actually not the best key that I had. It's the closest to my best key, actually. Last week I had 230 million damage, I believe. It was like 4 billion clash points, so I'm definitely able to reach the 4 billion clash points, which was my goal. I also completed more trials last week, I think. This time around only got 9 because of some RNG, you know, that happens. You can have bad runs. My ninja was dead for quite some time. Our Arbais decreased speed got resisted a couple of times. I also did some mistakes where I didn't swap back to the alternate form with Arbais, so the decreased speed gets landed instantly. You know, a couple of these things happen, especially when you're trying to manual the whole Chimera run. So it took me around 1 hour. Obviously, I was talking in between, but normally it takes me around like 45 minutes, 45, 50 minutes to do one of my Chimera keys. And yeah, this is what it looks like. This is everything that I pay attention to, how I do the things and why I do them. I think I pretty much explained everything that you need to know if you're trying to use this comp or a similar one. I'm definitely going to keep this and see what I will get. So a couple of rare, epic, legendary materials. It's not really that much, right? But it is what it is. I think, in my opinion, they should up those relic materials that we get here, especially from the Ultra Nightmare, from the trials. So let's talk about the gear real quick. Here we have Lady Mikage. She has a 4-star blessing. These are the stats. 93k HP, 3.6k defense, 311 speed. I wish I could make her faster. That would up my damage, right? She's in a relentless set, so she gets more extra turns and uses her A1 more. And this combined with the 4-piece merciless set, so every time when dealing damage, there is a 30% chance to decrease a random skill cooldown by 1 turn. So she attacks on all of her skills, right? On A1, on the A2, on the A3. All of these skills are attacks, so there's always a chance to decrease one of her skills cooldowns. Then I have an 18% chance to get an extra turn, and I got the Purge Shadow Relic, which gives her an additional 14% to receive an extra turn when using their default skill, if at least one active skill is on cooldown. So I'm basically just using her A3 and A2 as soon as they're available, and then that way I get more extra turns. So again, here at stats, 311 speed. All the other stats are just, you know, for survivability. You could build her with damage, I guess that would do a little bit for the score. And then she definitely needs accuracy so she can extend the debuffs. And for that, I booked her also because she's ignoring 20% resistance, and it makes it easier to build her for Chimera. So basically, she's almost completely booked. Only the A1 is not booked on this form. Then I have Cruelty on her because she's attacking that often. All of her skills are attacks. That way I can stack up that defense decrease pretty fast. And then last but not least, these are the masteries on my Lady Mikage. Then we move on to Arbais. Arbais is in my fastest speed gear basically. I want to put her in a protection set once I can. 62k HP, 5.1k defense, 411 speed, and 455 accuracy. She definitely needs the accuracy to place the decreased speed on her second form. This is very important. It doesn't ignore resistance whatsoever, so you do have to have a decent amount of accuracy. In best case scenario, around 500. I'm at 450, and sometimes it still gets resisted. But other than that, she's completely booked. That definitely helps with the cooldown reductions here on the A3 and A2. So you have the duration increase of ally buffs more frequently, as well as the turn meter boost. Intimidating presence, so the speed aura is a little bit increased, and these are the masteries. Oh yeah, before I forget, this is the relic that I use on her, the journal. It's on level 3, gives a little bit more turn meter boost. Then let's move on to Ninja. He's +2, has a 4-star blessing. I recently bought it. So these are his stats: 52k HP, 2.9k defense, 8.8k attack, only 217 speed, but that's fine. If you can make him faster, that's cool. But I would aim for a maximum amount of like 240. That's probably, you don't have to go that high. I would rather stack up the attack, so the ally attacks with Lady Mikage are smacking harder. 100% crit rate, obviously, I'm a little bit above that. And 330 crit damage, 345 accuracy. For Ultra Nightmare Chimera, you want to have around 500 accuracy. But because I have Arbais in the same team, I have the increased accuracy up most of the time. And that is enough to place debuffs with him. He's in a 6-piece Merciless and a 2-piece Zeal set. Also, I have 1 piece of Pinpoint for additional accuracy. Then for the relic, I'm using the Ireti Coronet. This is probably the best you can use on him. Gives you an additional 30% more damage once you placed 8 debuffs if it's on +12, rank 4. I also have the Boss Slayer, so the Vera deals 10% more damage to bosses. This is definitely the best in slot. Gemstone, very, very strong. And for the Triangular, I have Pierce Defenses, very, very good rare gemstone. If you have it, definitely use it on your nuker. The Vera will ignore 3% of the target's defense if the target is under 2 or more debuffs, and the Chimera will definitely be most of the time under 2 or more debuffs. Then he's completely booked. I have a Nature's Wrath blessing on him. If I had a 6-star blessing, I would definitely change it to Crushing Rend. That is performing way better in Chimera because the Chimera has such a high defense, and these are the masteries. Then there is Siphi in my 9-piece protection set that I have on this account. The best I have 78k HP, 4.9k defense, 385 speed. I just basically want to make her tanky and fast, and that's about it. And put up, those buffs as frequently as possible. I have the Journal of Necrotos on her as well. So again, additional turn meter boost from this, also a little bit more heal. She's completely booked, intimidating presence as well. I could go probably with something else since I have the intimidating presence blessing on Arbais already. And these are the masteries that I'm using. And then there's Lydia in a 9-piece feral set for additional damage for every single debuff she places. And these are the stats: 62k HP, 5.7k defense. I definitely wanted her to have the highest defense, so she gets targeted by the lion form. 297 speed and 521 accuracy, which is perfectly fine for Ultra Nightmare. Oh yeah, also I have my Siphi with the lowest crit damage, so she is the ram form target, and with Arbais with the Revive on Death, I can manage to do that. Otherwise, if you don't have Arbais, definitely have somebody else than your Reviver having the lowest crit damage. Otherwise, your whole, your Reviver will die, and then your whole team will wipe because you can't get the Reviver back. For a relic, I'm using the Gilded Dragonstone to get her defense up a little bit and to make sure she's targeted by the line form. Then I'm using Brimstone, which has a nice synergy with the 9-piece feral set. It gives you 5% more damage for your allies, basically, and these are the masteries. So yeah, guys, overall, I'm pretty happy with my team. I have definitely some room for improvement. Let's craft these rare relic crafting materials real quick and see if we can hit something nice. But no, it's a Tempest Zinguinis. So basically, the way to improve this team would be to put my Arbais in a protection set, right? So the buffs that she puts out are protected. and give more damage to Ninja. Also, I don't have to worry about the buffs getting stripped and then the Chimera doing more damage, or the buffs getting stripped by the Viper form or stolen. More protection is definitely better, especially for Arbais. I don't know if I would put Lady Mikage in a protection set. I think she's fine with the Relentless set, but I would have to try it out. Maybe it's better in a protection set with her and the Relic. I don't know yet, but maybe I will try as soon as I get a nice protection set for Lady Mikage as well. Obviously, a higher soul for each of these champions will push my damage. A higher Brimstone Blessing, that way I will put the Brimstone out more frequently. The Brimstone will deal damage. Also, the Pharaoh set will add more damage to Ninja. A higher Cruelty Blessing, the Cruelty decreases the defense. It works kind of the same as a decreased defense. It's not ignoring defense, it's decreasing it. And the higher the blessing is, the more I can decrease the defense. And obviously for Ninja, a higher blessing would result in dealing way more damage. With a 6-star Crushing Rend, I would definitely do much more than what I'm doing right now. And a higher Intimidating Presence obviously would result my team in having more speed and therefore dealing more damage. So yeah, that's pretty much how I would, or what I can improve on this team. And as I said, there's a lot of room for improvement, but these things come with, time. Keep collecting rewards, keep opening soul stones and hope for better souls and so on. And better drops from Hydra clan boss, better protection gear and so on. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it about this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I'm always happy to help. You can also join my Discord. Maybe you want to share your teams or you have some questions, you can also ask me there. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel and also hit the thumbs up. It really helps me. And see you in the next one.